Hi there, everyone. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jole Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show, where John is going to tell us more about it.
Yes. So today is all about this arc of transformation and, how this is going to create this new dawn for humanity. And again, we're digging into the book, The Power of the Magdalene here, and tapping into one or two other things as well. But one of the things that super impressed me during the reading the book is the angel Alariel, okay? Because the sort of wisdom that comes through, and again, just to give the background on Alariel for people who may not have seen it last week, Alariel was one of a group of 12 angels who are there to support the Melchizedek energy wherever it goes in the galactic system. Okay, so it's not confined to Earth. But the Melchizedeks is an energy that comes in to help an indigenous population when it needs to raise the frequency beyond what is achievable within the indigenous population. So Alariel was one of that group of 12 angels. And when we did the show last week, we got so much profound information that came from that level, because this is not, it's going into that angelic realm, and the power of the words, the power of the energy, the power of the enunciation that sits behind it. Honestly, I just kind of love that. So digging under the surface of this week, as Jolé and I have done, we've identified some additional areas where we can really explore this deeply, because what it does, it gives you a real sense of well-being around the fact you can see, okay, forget the density that's going on around us at the moment, because we know that is just the old energy playing itself out to enable the new energy to come in. And we're going to continue to see that kind of chaotic energy for a while ahead. But, in many ways, it is something to be celebrated, because we have to go through that in order to get to the new. And as long as we focus our energies on what we are looking for, what we are seeking to achieve, then that is what is coming our way. And we can rest assured in that. Now, okay, if you're in the middle of a war zone, then, life is not quite that simple, right? You have to kind of take practical measures. But from those of us who would be looking from the outside and are not directly affected, then where do we place our energy? We place our energy with what we want our world around us to be, that world of unspeakable beauty. What we're going to be talking about today helps us to understand how that world of unspeakable beauty comes to pass, how the energetic vibration of humanity can raise from where it is now, which is ever increasing anyway, because Gaia's energy is going up. Our energy has to match Gaia. And well, Gaia, it's kind of works both ways, because Gaia's energy has to go up along with humanity as well. So, whatever we can do to continue to raise that frequency, I think is a really important thing. And yeah, we're going to get into that soon, and it's all about manifesting that future. And one of the things that Jolé and I wanted to mention again this week, and we'd mentioned it last week, and we're going to start rolling this out now, but we do this Moon Alchemy Meditations. We've been creating these for people now. And what we do is that we curate these in a way whereby we have Jolé's wonderful way of pulling together a guided meditation to take us through the meditation, but you put your energy into these meditations. So it's you. This is tailored specifically for the individual. You decide what your version of a world of unspeakable beauty for you looks like, however that is going to be, okay? And we kind of work it into a meditation for you. It's purely your meditation. You take it away. We tell you when the energetic times are right, because this is a Moon Alchemy meditation sequence. And that is something that we are going to be offering going forward from now. Now, we haven't yet got all the flyers. We've got one or two. We can put a flyer onto the description below, which will probably go on there tomorrow if you if you care to look at that, about what that's all about. But we've been experimenting with this now for the last couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks in particular. Well, last couple of months, I suppose, as well, because Jolé and I were doing this before. And it seems to be coming together really well. And that is where, we're taking this now as well as an offering to the Elevated Planet community. There will be a cost associated with this. It's not overly high, but at the end of the day, we have to kind of, start to move towards break even as Elevated Planet. And this is what our way of doing it, by giving you something that is highly personalized, highly individual, and available strictly to you. Jolé, what do you want to add about that?
It's really a way to step into this new reality that you're creating for yourself in real time. And with what's going on in the world and all of the things that are speeding up, and time is so, I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but time seems like it's going very fast. Maybe it's just me, but these things are all here for our development, but we need to just take a moment and connect with who we are. I don't mean the past. We need to kind of let that go. But who are we really at our core? Go big, with this meditation, and it is in your voice. So your subconscious is going to take that in even more than if it were me or someone else. It's such a positive and powerful way to build a practice and a routine around self-love, self-esteem, confidence, and your goals. So it's like this gift that you're giving yourself, because it's you talking about you and who you really are in real time and what you're really here to do. And to hear that every day, a few times a day, I mean, what it does to your heart and to your your motivation is just unbelievable. So it's like quantumly able to step into what it is that you want. This is a gift that we're giving.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so we'll put a link to the thing, and it'll probably not go on till tomorrow, but there'll be a link
Yes.
to some, a little bit of detail about what it's all about. Anybody who has any questions at all, drop me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life. And, we once you're on this journey, we help to support you on that journey as well.
Yes, we do.
So, we want everybody to succeed, to find their own world
Mm,
of unspeakable beauty in whatever way that is going to
absolutely.
be. And as we've learned over these last few months, we are master creators, all of us. We have to tap into that energy, and this is how we do it. We're flowing with the universal energy, and we're just creating a backdrop there that gives you something to really, really drop into on a regular basis and reinforce it. It's
Yes.
exciting.
It is. And also, just so you know, you'll have your own Elevated Planet WhatsApp private group with John, myself, and you only, and that you can reach out to us during this process. So you really get a bang, you could get a lot for your money, which, as John said, the minimum donation is on there, but we're open to, more.
I love that. Yes. Yeah. Now, so okay, that is to kind of set the scene for that, which I think is going to be an important part of the Elevated Planet development going forward. But really now to bring ourselves back to the show, we're really going to get back into what we're talking about, this arc of transformation, and back to Alariel. Alariel comes forth with such fantastic information. As I say, we're tapping into the power of the Magdalene, which is the book, and it's highly recommended. That's what I would say, because clearly we're able to get into some of this information. There's a lot that we have to leave behind. We talk around it and everything, but absolutely recommended for anybody who is curious. So what do you reckon, Jolé? Do we dive in?
Yes, let's dive in.
Okay. Prepare yourselves, everybody. Here we go.
The new children. We were intrigued when Alariel told us that the work of his group was changing, and it became clear that the whole focus of the group was being realigned in a new direction. Joanna, could you tell us, please, about the new work which your group is now involved with?
The nature of our work is changing, and our group is now giving much of its attention to the new children. The whole of humanity is experiencing an arc of transformation, which will move your consciousness forward at a rate that would have seemed impossible only a few years ago. Part of this arc of transformation is the seeding of the earth with a new kind of human being, people who are much more flexible and open to change. These pioneers will be the exponents of a new consciousness upon the earth, and their work will initiate a new dawn in the spiritual evolution of humanity. These new children are being born now, all over the world, in greater and greater numbers, and soon they will form a significant proportion of world population. We would like to provide a brief outline of these new children to give you some kind of context. There are 4 main groups involved. Indigo children, born from about 1930 onwards, but first arriving in large numbers in the 1970s. Indigos are intelligent, aware, sensitive, powerful, and vibrating at a higher rate than the average child. They have a broad range of creative, healing, and consciousness-related powers and skills, which develop naturally as they grow older. They have no interest in any rigid system from the past and are adept at breaking through barriers and pioneering new ways of living. Because of this, they may often appear as maverick figures to their own peer group. Super psychic children, born from about 1950 onwards, although 1 or 2 appeared, like Uri Geller, a few years before this. The super psychics possess a wide range of psychic and paranormal powers, including telekinesis and the ability to read printed material using a hand or a foot instead of the eyes. Super psychics are very challenging to anyone with a scientific training. They can transcend many of the established laws of physics, and they do this naturally and easily. They are here to expand what you believe is possible when dealing with physical matter. Crystal children, born from about 1980 onwards, with significant numbers coming in from 1990. Crystals are 1. Powerful but super sensitive and empathetic. 2. Highly intelligent but often intuitive rather than academic. 3. Accepting and inclusive rather than judgmental. 4. Highly attuned to a whole range of subtle energies, including angelic energies. This does not mean that crystals are little angels all the time, especially when they're young. 5. Focused on the now and indifferent to any information which concentrates on the past. 6. More inclined to share than to compete. 7. Deeply into the practice of oneness or unity consciousness. Rainbow children, born from about 2000 onwards, the rainbows are the inheritors of the whole buildup of the new energies. These wise and gentle beings represent creativity beyond ego, life beyond separation, and achievement beyond struggle. Performance at high and subtle levels of consciousness comes easily and naturally to the rainbows, who simply flow through life in a way that other children may find awesome. The super psychic children are in quite a separate category from the other 3 groups. Indigos, crystals, and rainbows form the main evolutionary stream and are capable of transformation of consciousness in ways that the indigenous humanity, let us call them originals, find difficult to understand. Indigo, crystal, and rainbow children get their names from the colors in the auric field that surrounds them. Try to think of the new children as a powerful and fluid wave of spiritual evolution, which can transcend the normal rigidities of consciousness that have so long been taken for granted. The wave is fluid in the sense that a child can be born as an indigo and move on to become a crystal, or be born as a crystal and move on to become a rainbow. As their consciousness expands and develops, it is natural for these children to move into subtler and more complex areas of consciousness, so that transition between stages comes easily to them. The super psychics belong to a different evolutionary stream and do not so easily flow from one group to another within the threefold pattern of indigo, crystal, rainbow. Most of these are advanced souls who have graduated from a series of shamanic lives within the evolutionary stream of the originals, although there are a small number coming in from similar cultures elsewhere in the galaxy. They are usually remarkably well-grounded and have a strong connection to the earth. This is in contrast to the indigo, crystal, rainbow wave, which is much more star-linked, as most of these children have come in, directly or indirectly, from a number of advanced star systems.
Comment by Joanna. We understand that even the originals can move on to become crystals and rainbows, and there is some evidence for this in the auric photographs that have been taken over the last decade. The session continues. Joanna, the general consensus of opinion at present is that indigos didn't come until the 1970s.
If you go back to the 1930s, there were very few indigos. Let us call them scouts. Their job was to test out the vibrational conditions on planet Earth and report back during sleep state to the main body of souls who planned to come here as indigos. Conditions were improving in the mid-1930s, and for a time it looked as if the main wave might be able to arrive around 1940. But then the world slid down into conflict and chaos during World War II, and the main wave was postponed. During that war, very few indigos came. Really only those who knew they had to reach a certain age point by the 70s and 80s to do specific work. After the war, vibrational conditions were put back by the Cold War, so that the aftermath of World War II really lasted throughout the 1950s and 60s. Only by the 1970s had the vibrational conditions begun to lift sufficiently to make the main wave of indigos viable. They had been queuing up in the afterlife. We can assure you, and they were eager to come, but conditions had to be right for them. So there were a few early scouts to test out conditions, but in all cases, the main waves arrived later, and in the case of indigos, much later. Because of this early scout and main wave pattern, it is extremely difficult to assign dates to these waves simply by looking at possible arrivals in these categories as they start to incarnate. Only by looking at the souls descending into incarnation does the overall pattern and overarching timescale start to become clear.
Why did these new children start to come during the 1930s? What was so special about that time?
From 1930 onwards, various coatings started to fire in the energy matrix of the Earth. This was the beginning of a major awakening cycle for Gaia. From that point on, humanity in parallel with Gaia began decrystallizing out of form and into the flow of spirit. For the planet to go through this kind of change, the breaking down of old conditions in consciousness is essential because Gaia and the consciousness of humanity are now linked into one continuum of energy. Because human consciousness and Gaia are linked, the energy of human awareness is a vital component in the transformation process. This means that Gaia can only travel forward vibrationally at the speed of the majority of human souls. But through this linkage, these souls are now presented with a unique opportunity to rise in consciousness in a way that would normally take many lives to accomplish. Because this situation is so important and is unique in your history, a unique system of help and support is being put in place to enable as many human beings as possible to take advantage of this opportunity. Your ancestors plodded wearily through many lifetimes to reach advanced levels of consciousness. You are being given the opportunity to do a similar transformation in just a few short years. Part of this process of help and support is the closeness and accessibility of the angelic world. And another part is the arrival on your planet of the new children. Each of the four main groups contributes to the process of change in their own unique way. The indigos break down structure. The superpsychics break down rigidity in the scientific mind. The crystals break down the illusion of separateness. The rainbows build on these foundations by demonstrating oneness and creative and cooperative living. Taken together, the new children form a complete system for breaking down rigidity, starting at the level of structure, moving through the mental and emotional levels, and culminating with consciousness.
Now, I don't know about you, but I love that explanation about, the different types of children and exactly what they bring and why and all the rest of it, because it just kind of makes sense. We're talking about these different frequencies and the auric fields being the how you would identify, I suppose, the crystals from the indigos, etc. And yeah, it just makes sense. And I love the fact that we can elevate as an original, if you like, if we're not, there may well be people in our community who actually are these children who have come through into the maturity of life. So it's quite feasible. But interesting that the planet has to have the vibrational frequency to support the incoming waves. And okay, you send out the scouts in the early days to test the waters, and they say going back to the 1930s for the indigos. And then the Second World War happened, and then the vibration dropped on the planet to a point where it was no longer compatible with the incoming wave as was originally intended. So if you think about it, the indigos should really have been coming in the 1940s had it not been for the Second World War, which was orchestrated, of course, by, these dark agendas and things that are there trying to keep humanity's vibration as low as possible. First World War and Second World War and the Cold War and everything. It's all kind of been stoked up. But at the end of the day, now is the opportunity for humanity to get out of that fear paradigm and into something so much bigger and better. So it is a positive that we are having the influxes of these children now, because that tells us that the vibrational frequencies on the planet are already raised to a level where they can come in and actually be part of our society. And it sounds like there are going to be an awful lot of them. And that brings me to the subject of light conception, which is something that, again, that is spoken about in the book. But I'm just going to put it into a nutshell so that we can kind of understand what this is about. Light conception was something that, say, Yeshua ben Joseph himself was light conceived, as was Mary Magdalene, as was Mary Anna, who was the mother of Yeshua as well, and John the Baptist, for that matter, as well, and other disciples. So it's not a rare thing to an extent, for those who are super high vibrational. And the reason it happens is because if you go through the standard birth process of humanity as it is, and you have a double strand from the feminine energy and a double strand from the masculine energy, and that is kind of where the creation process comes from. Well, with light conception, it is different. You get the double strand from the mother. The father provides an imprint of consciousness, okay, but not a double strand. The other double strand actually comes from spirit. So it's a higher vibrational structure, and it's a healthier structure as well. Typically, the children, because this is the reason for talking about it now, because these children who have come in are light conceived. Now, it doesn't mean that every parent out there knows that there's something else has gone on and you got a light conceived child coming along, because you will go through the normal biological process and be unaware of the fact that you're going to have a crystal child, a rainbow child, an indigo, whatever. But nevertheless, there is behind the scenes, there is this light conception. The second double strand is from spirit. It wraps itself around that double strand DNA from the mother, and therefore you can now hold a high frequency, which is why when it comes down to these beings who are coming into the planet now from advanced star systems, where they can bring beautiful energies to our planet and help to raise that frequency for everybody, and everybody can learn from them. They can be a template for us to elevate from our originals kind of way of being into, a crystal, or ultimately a rainbow or something. So it's really fascinating, but that is an important thing to take into account, that we're going to see a lot more of that light conceived children out there, and that is how it works. So it all ties in with the DNA, and our scientists, as yet, again, because all this information comes from Alariel, right? So he's not bound by the rigid expectations of scientists on the planet, right? So he explained that our understanding of DNA is very limited at this time, because we just think of it as like physical markers for DNA. Whereas in reality, the total strands of DNA, because there is no junk DNA, but it sets the levels of consciousness to which we can aspire to move throughout our life. So there's the physical markers. Yes, we can understand and identify that, but because we've not got a firm grasp on consciousness, you don't really understand what the rest of it's about. But we have the ability to activate our higher strands of DNA and then come into that higher way of being, And that's kind of the way that it works as I understand it. Now, interesting point. I said last week that Mary Magdalene and Yeshua had a child. They were married, about age 27, I think Yeshua was when they got married. And they had, when we were talking about this last week, and I said, well, he'd said in the autobiography book that he'd had two boys. Whereas in this book, they talk about his daughter, right? Not about the two boys, although there's an explanation that sits there, because there was a bit of a false trail raised about the three children, one girl and two boys, because the whole point was that they knew that that bloodline would be actively pursued by the dark agenda. So there was a kind of smokescreen there which involved two boys. And I suspect that's kind of where the autobiography thing comes in, but I don't know. I'll let you judge that for yourself. But Sarah Anna was the daughter of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua and was light conceived. Okay. So this means that genetically she was really the child of Mary Magdalene. Although spiritually she was the child of both Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, because the double-stranded DNA from the feminine side is the only DNA that goes forward in that way. It actually means that the bloodline of Christ is not so much the bloodline of Jesus, Yeshua, it's the bloodline of Mary Magdalene, because it's the feminine side that is going forward in that high frequency kind of way. So I found that really interesting. And I suppose one other thing to mention again is about education. And this comes out again, if you buy the book, you'll be able to listen to all this. But the educational needs of these children as well are far better met in a flexible education system like the Montessori schools or the Steiner schools, the Rudolf Steiner created schools, because they work specifically with the needs of the pupil, with the student, rather than a curriculum that goes down as a one-size-fits-all, because clearly they don't work within a rigid system at all. So, but having said that, there will be a lot of these children that do go through normal, standardized education, conventional education, because one of the things that they also need to do, even though they're at a higher frequency and all the rest, they have to be able to interact and communicate with everyone, all the originals. So the advantage of being in the normalized school system is that they can actually learn to communicate and build friendships and all the rest of it in that domain. So, but yeah, in terms of their personal development, having a flexible school system is going to be very important for them. What else did I want to mention to you? Yeah, I mean, one thing I do love about this, if you talk about the crystal children's, their natural way of being is all about unity, peace, and non-violence. They teach love, and they will question and challenge anything that doesn't fit with, what makes sense. And it's interesting because Yeshua was the same again. You go back to the autobiography, he spoke a lot about the fact that in his early years, he was a rebel, regarded as a rebel, because he questioned everything. He didn't take it at face value when the rabbis would say to him, well, that's just the way it is, because they get frustrated with answering his questions. That was never enough. So that's why he became known as that, because as these children will, they understand that this has to make sense to them. And if it doesn't make sense to them, they're just going to keep pursuing their own agendas and understanding things themselves. But they are going to be resolving conflicts. They are natural peacemakers of the future. And that is so important right now. I love that. There's so much fantastic energy. Oh, here's one other thing I was going to mention as well about the super psychic children. Their ability to read and absorb energies, right? So these children that can put a book under their armpit, or they can have it sort of in their hands or have it on their feet or whatever, and be able to consume the entire book, okay? And even go to certain pages and read certain phrases and things like that. But there was an explanation in the book about how that works, because Alariel explains that when an author creates a book, they're also creating an energetic field. And the more emphasis and the more energy that author puts into that book, the bigger the energetic field. So what these children are doing is that they are reading the energetic field and effectively digesting that energetic field into their energetic field, which means that they can absorb the contents of that energetic field in the book. So they're not physically reading, they're actually absorbing it in a different way. Now, that makes no sense to us from a mainstream perspective, but I know, because of the work of Drunvalo Melchizedek as well, he explained about the fact that there are schools in China that have been around for a long time, and they've been scientifically tested by Western scientists who've gone there to try and disprove that these children can do this. There's schools in Mexico, and they've had thousands of students go through this and can all do this reading. Bulgaria, I know in Europe there's one in Bulgaria that does the same thing, and I don't doubt there's an awful lot more out there as well. But that's all these children with these abilities, and it comes from the new humans that are coming through with these fantastic, super psychic powers and everything. And our psychic powers are coming more online as well, as I understand it. So, yeah, and shamanic societies have always understood these things anyway. The wisdom keepers in the indigenous tribes and things like that have understood how these things operate, and they fully accept it as part of life. Whereas we in the mainstream kind of struggle to cope with that because it doesn't fit into our scientific boxes as we understand them to be. But the Kogis in Colombia, I know, were ones that the way that they bring their children up, they effectively they learn this super psychic and the ability to remote view and everything like that from a very young age because they know it to be a natural resource. But we have to, we get told it's woo-woo nonsense. So basically we dismiss our own abilities for the longest time. But now is the time we are stepping back into our power. And I'm going to shut up now because I think I've said enough, and I'm going to bring in the wonderful Jolé for your comments, please.
I get it. We're talking about these kids, and parents are probably questioning, like, well, how do I know if my kid is this or that? Or how do I open that up in my child? And it's just about allowing for your child to show you the way in which it needs the discipline. Of course, there's routine, there's ancestral knowledge that has come through, and we have to figure out which generational curses we are trying to resolve and dissolve, as well as what behaviors that we have that we would like for our children to teach us how to let go of, right? Because this energy is really all about collapsing the past, letting go of what once was, especially in this recent times, because we saw how, John, it said, the indigo kids were kind of supposed to come during the 30s and the 40s, but the World War happened and they had to push it to the 70s. And it's like, that's interesting. To me, that opens up so many questions because it's like, how much more are you hiding from me? Like in some level. But then again, the creator says to me, the spirit's like, pivot back to the indigo children, take from them because they remember. So as parents, if we can just have some humility for our children and what it is they're trying to teach us, that is very helpful. Now I'm listening to John and I'm on the other end of this, like, well, wow, I want to be an indigo child, a prismatic, a super, even though I have this gift and we all have it, it's just I decided to study it a little more. But to come in immediately, have these gifts, and then have a parent that is able to like allow for you to cultivate it, that is world changing energy. So I'm just asking, allow for your kid to kind of show you. I'm not saying, for those of you like, I don't do gentle parenting. No one's saying you have to be a gentle parent like that, as much as have some humility for the spirit that is coming through your child, right? Have some joy. Get into that childlike energy with them so that the masculine and feminine can come into alignment. Now, we also spoke about Mary, Sarah, Mary, Matt, all of this. And it's so interesting. I'm back to, what are you leaving out from me? What is going on here? Because we have all these stories that we've listened to, we've heard, we've been raised, which is a part of our programming, which has also kept us and our spiritual curiosity suppressed in a lot of ways. Now it's come out where people are channeling this information and we're getting into the details, and it's more complex than we ever imagined it to be. Now, I know some of you are probably like, this is a bunch of BS. I don't believe it, whatever. I get it, it's just, but what it means, whether you believe it or not, is that there's more to it than we ever thought. So then take it back home. There's more to you than you've ever thought. So full circle, for you to become that indigo child and that prismatic child, it's about you feeding yourself good, positive energy and light that comes through sunlight, grounding, meditations, but as well as just before on awaking and before going to sleep, start feeding yourself some affirmations. Go to bed saying, I am chosen, I am loved, I am unspeakable beauty, I am abundance. You know, all of the things that you want. Now I hear automatically somebody go, all of that is a bunch of BS and tripe, and I don't believe any of it. Vision boards are kind of like, and affirmations, they sometimes remind us of what we don't have, right? And how far we have to get there. But if you're doing it in a subconscious way and you're allowing yourself to feel and see this before you go to bed, your subconscious can then get to work closing the gap. And then you go into this manifestation energy. So if you can just work with that, that's the only people like, oh, when should I do my meditations? Before you go to bed, right when you wake up. Give yourself 10 minutes. You know, we snooze, we go to sleep. If so, tell yourself a really positive thought before you go off to dreamland. This way, the subconscious can grab onto that and do the work, because there's so many layers of negativity. So let's just start in that state between asleep and awake, and then we can awaken our own indigo child.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because one of the things you said there really reminded me of something, actually, because Joanna, who's one of the authors of the Power of the Magdalene book, mentioned about the fact, I mean, she was a Montessori teacher herself as well, you know, so she's been through that, she understands it. And one of the things that she recommended to parents as well is to go through what she called a rebirthing process,
Yes.
which takes you back to what it's like to be a child. I'd not heard of that before. I don't know whether you had, but
you know, not in that way. No.
yeah. But it kind of
Fascinating.
makes sense to me, because you are actually, you know, putting yourself back into that child state. So you understand the world that they see rather than the world that you see. So you kind of, it helps you to, I suppose, fall into line with your own children, to kind of understand where they come from, to have their perspective very much at the heart.
Yes.
So yeah, it kind of, yeah, because it isn't easy, you know, like as a parent, you know that you're there to guide, you know that you're there to nurture and to encourage. But yeah, it's
It's truly a fine line, I think, John. Sorry to interrupt you, between knowing, allowing for your child to unpack itself and unfold the way it's supposed to, and then wanting to protect it, knowing what this world is up to at the same time. So then you want to put in this discipline and this, and all of these kind of rigid thoughts because of what it is up against once it goes out into the world. So as a parent, you know, God bless, you know, unconditional love to all of us, because it's not an easy job, you know. Your kids, what do? It's like your heart is outside of your body for almost the rest of your life at this point, once you choose to have a child, you know. So Godspeed and God bless.
yes, yes. Yes, indeed. So, okay, now, Jolé, I think we should leap into the next section.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, so now we're heading to talk about the Grail, when this is a really fascinating subject, and then we've got the divine and feminine balance, which is really fascinating as well. So bear with me a second. Here we go.
Joanna, some people associate the Grail with Mary Magdalene. Could you comment on this, please?
The symbolism of the Grail is vast, but we would be happy to share our perspective with you. On one level, the Grail can be seen as the mystery school working through the Temple of Isis in Alexandria, which provided a structure, a container, a cup, if you wish to call it that, into which the initiates of love and light could pour their loving service. This mystery school was in many ways one of the highest, purest, and most effective practical expression of Melchizedek wisdom upon this planet, and its benevolent influence still endures. On another level, the Grail can be seen as the bloodline reaching from Mary Magdalene down to the present day, a lineage which has provided physical vehicles for a number of workers in the light, especially those souls who had experienced lives as priestesses of Isis. Through Mary, the energy and wisdom of the Isis tradition of love and light did not disappear when the temple of Isis faded into history, but continued in the life and work of all those who have been inspired by it over the centuries. For this reason, we regard Mary Magdalene as the overlighting presence sustaining the Grail. And in a symbolic sense, her higher self can be seen as the angel of the Grail. On a still deeper level, the Grail can be interpreted as the vortex of cosmic peace and unconditional love, which the work of Jeshua and Mary Magdalene established upon the earth. This new blend of energies gave all subsequent aspirants the opportunity to balance peace and love within the heart and go forward into realization and ascension in a much more direct way than was practiced in the ancient mystery schools.
Joanna, you speak of the mystery school at Alexandria as one of the highest expressions of Melchizedek wisdom upon the earth. What aspect of the Melchizedek wisdom do you find most profound?
Their teaching on balance. The Melchizedeks realized that balance was central to the nature of the universe. Due to their clear perception of Father, Mother, God, they also saw that the principle of balance is reflected down through all the levels of being. Those who thoroughly understand the principle of balance would never, for example, undervalue the goddess aspect of the divine, or the power and importance of feminine wisdom. The Melchizedek saw balance as being vital, not only to a whole civilization, but to all levels within a single being. For life to be lived to the full, it needs to be lived in a balanced way so that each aspect of the individual is respected and given the time and attention required for full expression. They saw health and wholeness flowing naturally from a state of being in which all aspects of a person are in balance, and they said that any structure or society based upon imbalance was essentially dysfunctional and unsustainable. The Melchizedeks also regarded balance as linked with and leading to harmony, which they recognized as the law of laws, and the state towards which the whole universe constantly moved. Harmony, they said, is the key to understanding all the other laws. Hence, they saw karma, for example, as essentially a moving back into balance and harmony, an attempt by the universe to restore a state of balance. Those who, like Jeshua, spent time with Melchizedek teachers absorbing their wisdom always emphasized the need for balance as a central component in life. That is why he set up his system of discipleship in a balanced way, each circle of male disciples being balanced by a female counterpart. Thus, the fundamental nature of the universe was reflected in the structure of his teaching system.
If balance is so vital, is imbalance always dangerous?
It almost always leads to some kind of dysfunction, in an individual or in society as a whole. For example, a culture based on any extreme form of patriarchy might come close to destroying its planetary environment. Those who do not respect their planetary mother are very likely to pollute and injure her, because nothing in their belief system will hold them back. Any extreme patriarchal culture will also tend to produce conflict and suffering because the cooperative, loving, and forgiving qualities are all functions of the divine feminine, which will be deliberately marginalized in this type of culture. Let us be clear about this. An extreme matriarchal culture also has its problems and will lead to other forms of dysfunctionality, including a lack of structure and intellectual rigor. But at least those who believe in the matriarchy will be in no danger of destroying their own planet. So what we are advocating is a balanced belief system. In other words, a belief in Father, Mother, God.
The whole idea of patriarchy does seem to be widely questioned now, and is no longer accepted as the natural order of things.
In the West, you are experiencing a time of reevaluating and rebalancing. What started as a rebalancing within relationships is now culminating in a rebalancing of your whole belief system. The increasing interest in the sacred feminine, the female disciples of Jeshua, and the role played by Mary Magdalene are all part of this rebalancing process. Rebalancing your belief system is an essential precondition for moving out of your past limitations and into the very different energy conditions of the new world, a world in which all aspects of the divine will be valued. The whole process of transformation and rising in consciousness supported by the new children will lay the foundations for this new world. New horizons will open up, including the possibility of living in a post-conflict, post-competitive world in which collaboration and forgiveness replace the destructive patterns of your past. This is the new dawn that human beings have longed for, the new beginning that all your efforts have brought forth. This is the new world in which you are no longer the dependent children of creation, but spiritually adult beings standing in the light of your own consciousness.
Isn't it uplifting to hear how this is all going to unfold and how it is unfolding around us now? And we're here for this shift of the ages. You know, I mean, we're truly blessed to be here right now, and actually truly blessed to begin to understand what's happening, because that is the thing that helps us through this time of, tumultuous things going on around us. And, we can, by understanding what's happening, we can be that beacon of calm, if you like, amongst the storms that to appear around us. Now, I did want to mention about the Grail, because also there was some reference to this within. I think I've got it here. Yeah, this book as well. The Hypnotist's Journey to Avalon that we've featured a lot as well. There was some talk about the Grail there as being an energy exchange vessel, effectively. So it's not necessarily that you're drinking out of the cup, but at the Last Supper, for instance, that the Grail would be passed around and each person gets the energy from it. And if it started at the Isis Mystery School, everyone who has worked with that Grail is putting that beautiful energy within the Grail itself, and it has consciousness of its own. And the Templars have taken care of it, and it's there somewhere for to come back over our way at some point. But what I found really interesting about this, the disciples passed the Grail at the Last Supper and accepting the energy and adding their energy. The Last Supper painting with, when you think about the Last Supper by Leonardo, okay, when you look at the painting, and I'm going to show you now, just bear with me a second. I'm going to switch screens to the picture of the Last Supper. There it is, a little bit grainy, but you get the idea there that what you've got is sat on this side, onto the left of Jesus, is actually not John. That's where John is supposed to be sat, but actually it's Mary Magdalene. And I know this has been spoken about before. You may have an idea of this yourself, but the whole what was interesting about this is Alariel, Angel Alariel, explained what this was really all about. Because what he said was that Leonardo believed himself to be an incarnation of John and didn't want to be in the painting from an energetic perspective. As the artist, it felt wrong to him. So in a way of bringing in the masculine and feminine energy into balance, he put Mary Magdalene there because they were, absolutely balancing each other in life. And therefore, when you see the angles leaning away exactly the same angle from each other, that is part of that balance, that symbolization that he was actually putting into the painting, and it was entirely intentional. So the divine feminine and masculine imbalance was really what that was all about, and that is also what the Melchizedek wisdom teaches us as well. So let's just shift away from that. Yeah, another thing is quite interesting as well. One of the past incarnations of John is also believed to be Francis of Assisi, Saint Francis, and that one is another life that he came into, again, light conceived into that role. Interesting story that sits behind it all. But yeah, so if you think about the number of times that these disciples, that Yeshua himself has incarnated on the planet, and Mary Magdalene and everybody, it's quite amazing when you start to think about how life really operates. And you know, we've been here so many times ourselves as well. I've not done any past life regressions. I don't, well, I've not successfully done any past life regressions, so I can't lay claim to any past lives that I have awareness of. But I know plenty of people who have, and it's fascinating stuff. So the divine feminine and masculine energy balance is really what it's all about, and it's reflected down through every way of being for all of creation, right? So that is what it's all about. And one of the things that really struck me about that is this is another reason why we have to connect with our higher selves, because we are an androgynous being. Okay, once you get to that etheric level, we're an androgynous being. But because I've been incarnated as the masculine energy here, I have more feminine energy that sits within my higher self that balances back to wholeness. So that's again another reason why, for people who never reach out and connect to their higher self, they're denying themselves an element of the balance that they truly are. So the patriarchal culture that we have around us, we can see it, it's all, you know, coming to an end. We're seeing it play out, as indeed play out it must. And the goddess energy is going to be stepping forward. And I find that really exciting because, as we said before, on numerous occasions, again, from out of this book, by 2050, Isis returns to the planet, and with many of her initiates. And that is going to be an exciting time, because you think about this aligned with these new children who are coming into the planet. So by 2050, they will be, you know, mature adults. And, you know, this is all happening now, where everything is coming to raise our vibrations. And there's, what can you say, is a lot to look forward to with this new consciousness. So I've said enough on that now, Jolé. Come on, tell us what you think.
I think you summed it up nicely, John, and I think it's really time to go into the meditation because I don't have anything to add. You were very thorough.
Thank you, Jolé. Okay, well, we're going to do that then. We are going to go to the section, which again is Alariel, who will take us into Jolé's guided meditation. So if you bear with me a second, this is all about the new consciousness, and honestly, it gets you here. Exciting times.
The new consciousness. What do you see as the most useful thing that angels can do now to help humanity at this stage of our development?
To help you let go of your past and all the heaviness of the old perception of things, the rigidities of the old order. You are constantly being challenged to expand your awareness and reach out into new frequencies of consciousness, new perspectives of truth, new possibilities of being. You have been accustomed to looking outside of yourselves for guidance, reassurance, ultimately for authorization and authority. Now, you are entering a new phase where the challenge is to receive your guidance from within. The Spirit works through manifesting in your life as much light as you can handle. The light provides the fire of transformation, the flames in which all that is not light within you will be consumed. Welcome this fire when it comes, for the fire is your friend. By sacrificing all your heaviness, all your negativity, all your fears and doubts and limitations into this flame, you are reborn as a lighter, purer, subtler being, a being who resonates with the frequencies of light. We cannot tell you how great a change this will bring into your lives. It will be like moving from being a docile and obedient child to being an independent and responsible adult. Spiritually, humanity is waking up and moving out of the child stage of dependence upon external authority and into the stage of spiritual empowerment. And this shift in the very nature of your being is also a shift out of your heavy and regimented past and into a much lighter and more flexible consciousness, to soar up into the new frequencies of being that await you. It will be necessary for your consciousness to become infinitely more subtle and flexible and open to new possibilities and creative solutions. You cannot step into your future wearing the heavy hobnail boots of your grandfathers. What are needed now are light and agile dancing shoes. To date, you have marched and plodded from one generation to the next, but it is time to spread your wings and soar upwards into the new world and all the new possibilities that lie before you. So think about how heavy or light your consciousness has been today, how heavy it was yesterday, and how light and joyful it will be tomorrow. Everything around you is changing and evolving, and your consciousness needs to change and evolve too. And when you get used to the new consciousness, you will find its lightness easy and elegant, like a pebble skimming across the waves. The new world will be based upon cooperation rather than competition, sharing rather than accumulating, oneness rather than separation. These are big changes compared to the way most human beings now live. And these changes will bring big challenges as part of the process of realignment. Moving into the new world is made much easier if you let go of the heaviness, the fear, the anger, the bitterness, the hatred, the suffering, everything that is not light and of the light. If you do that, you will find your consciousness will change more quickly and more easily from day to day, automatically leaving all that is heavy behind and moving naturally toward all that is light. Light friends, light foods, light ideas, and light ways of living. Eventually, the heavy will just seem absurd and irrelevant to you. It will pass you by, for in your new consciousness, only the light will find a home.
Take a deep breath in. Exhale. And catch the rhythm of your body and how it breathes as you bring your awareness to the center of your chest. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body, command for your heartbeat to sync up with your breath, bringing your body into stasis. We're going to pull our aura in 1.5 feet around us. Our astral body, snap it in, feet and feet, knees and knees, hips and hips, hands in hands, shoulders and shoulders, head in head, fitting inside our bodies like a hand fits inside of a glove. Take a minute as it locks in and downloads all of the information that it received and gathered while we were sleeping. Can you see it? The ones, the O's or whatever it is that's pulsating through as a higher self is locking in to the code. As your astral body is giving the higher self the code, and your higher self is standing at the power position, a comfortable distance above your crown. We're going to open our crown like the lens of a camera as 100% cosmic gold, light force energy comes cascading down from the heavens, raining down on our higher self, creating that golden sun above the higher self filled with unconditional love, alignment with the laws of the universe and our highest, most loving purpose, as well as unspeakable beauty. Just let this rain down on your higher self as it comes into the crown. 100% of this life force energy, golden, is just pulsating through your body now. No earth energy. We're just creating, bringing in light into every single one of our cells, waking up the light within. So as this golden light force comes raining down, down through your cranium, down your neck, into your arms, down into your core, your legs, your feet, it begins to create your grounding cord. See it come together and generate itself. It's a golden lattice work, a channel of gold light. that has density as it moves through the core, into the core of Mother Earth. And it grows roots, connecting, giving so much gratitude and love to Mother Earth as this golden essence, you see it come down your grounding cord and just pour into her core as you bring your awareness back into your heart chakra. Why? Because you are depending on your own energy. We are depending on our own energy. So as you send this beautiful golden light into Mother Earth, you have enough to give. So from the heart, we allow again for this golden essence to open up that portal between our heart and the center of our heads, paving it with so much unconditional love and unspeakable beauty as we move effortlessly between logic and reason, our intuition and creativity, unconditional love, unspeakable beauty, as this cycle takes up routine and residence within our being and moves this message out into our body, programs it into our DNA. We have this cycle of unconditional love, logic and reason, creativity, intuition, unspeakable beauty, just cycling through the center of the head and the heart. Anything that no longer serves moves down that grounding cord as that gold light resolves and dissolves negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, dis-ease, illness, pain. Bring it in. Allow it to move through you, waking up that inner child, allowing for that playful energy to integrate the masculine and the feminine, knowing that this journey is filled with so much joy. So as we feel this from a heart-centered space, we command that we are divinely independent while being divinely connected. We are the answer. So as you sit in this heart-centered space, that golden sun is filling up with divine independence, divine interdependence as well. And in this heart chakra, the heartache, the heartbreak is being removed, resolved. The past experiences, the traumas, the triggers are being dissolved. The lessons are being taken in. And inside of that golden sun above our head, we call in all of the wisdom and the knowledge from the ancestors. Come in to help us remember our power and who we truly are from a genetic, historical perspective. Taking in all the good and leaving the bad behind. Taking the lesson without the charge. As this gold light pulsates and moves throughout your body, creating a supernatural energy within you as you sit from a heart-centered space, allowing for that brain power to fuel the feeling as you visualize your most loving and highest good. You're at the zenith of your life. Your goals have been reached. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Breathe with the rhythm of your body. See clearly this vision. Step into it as the ancestors fill that golden sun with all of the knowledge and the wisdom of how to maintain it and pass it on as you already have it. So as you feel that unconditional love for yourself, for your dreams, for your worthiness and deservedness, and you could see yourself take hands with the person to the right and to the left of you as this energy moves down into your arms and out of your hands and into them. And as their energy moves into you, the double doors of your heart open and so much love just goes into this grid. Because it's not only you living this dream, it's also those around you. As we share that love and that wisdom and that knowledge, the higher self reaches up and brings that golden sun down through itself into your crown. As that energy trickles down into the heart, and the rest of it just fills you up, goes all the way down through your hands, through your core, through your legs, down your grounding cord, into your feet. And your light is so bright, like Moses coming down from the mount after he received the vision and the revelation from the Creator. You are so bright with unconditional love and divine energy. You are blinding. Feel this energy move out and into your environment. Share the love. As you sit in the energy of a wish fulfilled. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, just feel that vision. Feel it. Burn up any of the negativity. Let the power of this light burn up the negativity, the dis-ease, the illness, the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs. As you sit in this wish fulfilled, and every part of you knows what it benefits from doing, knows its job from here on out in the highest and the best way. All of you supports all of you. All of us supports all of us. A deep breath in. On the exhale, gently close the double doors of your heart. And there's just so much love outside those doors for anyone who's willing to come in, magnetizing that energy with the clear boundary that they take from the overflow. Take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, you're going to close your crown to 20%. It's just a command. And allow for that consistent stream of gold light to continue to power the center of your head, your heart, your grounding cord, keeping you connected to divine life force energy as well as grounded in the reality of Mother Earth. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Jolé. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it still maintained that playfulness and joy in there as well. You know, it's uplifting. It's one of the things I kind of love about this is that the messages. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff out there that it's we're focusing on like darkness, we're focusing on all the negative that's going on in the world. But when you come to understand that there is so much happening for us right now and how powerful we are, it just
Yeah.
kind of makes the whole journey incredible.
And I want to just lay on the table. That's my word of saying take it or leave it. But I want to let you know that for some of us, it's very difficult, or it can be, to vision ourselves with liberation and sovereignty because we've been programmed at such a young age to work for other people, to see their divinity, to hold them in high esteem, and see ourselves as worker bees down here. There's others that have not, but for the most part, most of us. So if your vision gets hard for you to see, writing it out, writing it out, writing it out, continue to write it out and practice seeing this before you go to bed and upon waking, and really getting a relationship with your vision. You know, a vision board is great, but like I said, it kind of reminds us where we're not and how far we need to go, versus when you embody it and you feel it and you see it within, that's a whole different way of manifesting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And again, I suppose just to double back on what we said at the outset, which is we are pulling together, helping to pull together people,
Yes.
meditations for people that help with that process as well, where you have your energy embedded into it. You have Jolé building you into it. You have Jolé kind of taking you, again, in that most positive way away from that at the end, just to bring it back into balance. And it's there for you to listen to. You get a long version of the meditation, you get a short version of the meditation. The long version enables you to cleanse your chakras and everything. And then there's the one which is going to be more of the quick fix, where you are getting up in the morning, you've got to get ready for work, so you just do this one instead because it's like 7 minutes
Yes.
long or whatever it is, right? So
Yes. And, you know, start out small. We know what the vision is for all of us, right? Sovereignty and freedom. What does that take? Money. But at the end of the day, there are little checks and balances on the way that can help you know if this is working for you or not, right? So start small, you know, and build. Just like with anything cumulative over time, it really has an effect.
yes, yes, definitely. And as I say, we'll tomorrow. I'll drop into the description below the link to some details about what we're doing and how and all the rest of it. So yeah, great. And I see we've just got a shaman who's arrived with us. Sean the shaman is being
Hi,
able to make it
Sean.
now. Great to have you here with us. But yeah, it's interesting times, and I'm just so looking forward to this journey, and I just love doing like the research on this side of things because I learn so much every week, and I love sharing it with our community because, everybody's not here. There's no accidents here. We're all pulled together for a reason because there is a higher purpose that sits beyond this. This is our apprenticeship. And where
Yes.
where it goes from here is a world of unspeakable beauty, and that is what we are together going to be creating. So
Yes, absolutely. And you hear us keep hitting that button because that's where we want to go. And an elevated planet is based on not fighting the old, but on building the new and staying right there. You know, things happen, mistakes, accidents, horrible things. Stay focused on, keep your eyes on the prize, and we stay in the solution in those situations.
100%. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so okay, Jolé. So quick wrap up mode now.
Yes, please like, share, and subscribe as always. And look for our forthcoming, as John says, our product offering that we have now. I'm really excited about it. And it is a privilege to be able to do this. So look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the start of something special. So
Yeah.
let's get it out there and help people on their journey. So yeah, okay. Right, so tomorrow the newsletter will go out with the edited version of this show. And again, as always, I always like doing the edited version because I can always add some additional supporting imagery and anything there that is going to help the audience there. So just because you've watched the live doesn't mean that you shouldn't watch the recording as well. But do share. And again, as
I
Joe said,
definitely.
sharing is so important because our YouTube algorithm thing doesn't really work very well at all. We don't seem it doesn't, the message doesn't get out as far as we'd like it to. So the best way to do it is for you to share it with people that you know will resonate with it. And again, we know that it's not a mainstream kind of message that we're sending out these days. But if we work together as a team on this, then Elevated Planet grows, expands, and we all as a community benefit from this as well. So
Yeah.
fantastic.
And, once you start this journey, look for the synergies and the synchronicities in your life, but always know that, we got to be vigilant about detoxing from the negativity that we experience on a regular basis.
Mm.
That is the turbulence.
Yes, indeed. Yes. And we got a message from Ronnie here, and she's
Hi,
been
Ronnie.
one of our one of our guinea pigs on the initial running of the
Moon
meditations. She
Alchemy,
says, I
yeah.
would recommend the meditations, powerful connection to your higher self that speaks to you and through you. So
Thank you, Ronnie.
thank you, Ronnie. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. So if anybody wants to join our distribution list, drop me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life and we will make sure you get on there. Or if you have any questions, just send us any questions through that same way as well, and we will always guarantee to come back to you. So, okay, well, I think for this week, that will be it. Until I suppose we got Thursday. All things, hopefully everything aligns and we can do the Pam meditation on Thursday again, which we enjoyed doing.
Yes.
Pam Gregory meditation, inspired meditation for the global connection there to magnetize the new Earth frequency. But okay, that's it then, Jolé.
That is all
Okay,
for
well,
today.
thank you. Yes, for today. Thank you very much again to the community for being here with us or for being with us on the recording. We love you all, and we look forward to seeing you in a few days' time.